I was thinking about this today. Um, and you're not gonna get this unless you're really aware of of what people say as far as the elites or what have you, or Illuminati, or whatever you want to call them. Let us know things in movies and through code and programming, music and things like that, as far as what's to come, or even warnings, or to even conjure up energy to manifest something. Engineering, getting people used to something that's going to happen in the future by presenting it years earlier or even decades earlier, right? Just like, for example, the 9/11 thing. There were several movies, action movies, that had some thing in it with regards to something happening to the Twin Towers or bomb threat and things like that. So, with that being said, uh, you know, with the climate in which it is, we have in this country, coupled with, if you want to go with like Bible prophecy, or, Hopi prophecy, or just in general the plans that people are saying that the elites have, and which is to create a third world war, order out of chaos, so that they can bring in usher in the new world order, collective alliance, whatever you want to call it, right? And we know that it has to be out of chaos. It can't just transition that way. You're going to have to destroy in order to rebuild. So it is not one. I want to say that for especially for Americans, it's not a situation of if, but when, because they have to do it. War isn't. They need to have destruction to order to shake loose old ways and regimes and empires and things like that, to usher in a new world, or new alliance of treaties or what have you, right? And you know how they have been. Well, I guess for some of us, we probably know. I know that it's been this initiative to get black people to visit Africa. Ghana even has some provisions for American blacks, or to come to that country. They to move there. You are hearing a lot about, in certain circles, I guess, if you pay attention. It depends on what you're listening to, what have you. But I know that there are several different countries that are speaking out. South Africa, Ghana, and I think Kenya or Nigeria, one of them, that are really saying, black people need to come home and things like that. Coupled with the fact that you have white people go back to Africa, like, you know. So what if that's like a code? Like that's them showing us something of the future, and saying, or telling us something, like they do a lot of times, like what people are saying with the blackout stuff, or to be prepared, or to these different, when something, to be prepared for something. And so when it does happen, they can say, hey, even though they're facilitating it, and we know that they're the reason behind it at the root of the chaos, but on the surface, they're telling people, and so they feel like, okay, we warned you of these events, and so if you don't take heed to it, even though we didn't tell you directly that, yeah, this is kind of true, then whatever happens to you happens. And so I'm just wondering if you know the all of these things are a sign for people to for black people take heed, as many as possible that can uproot and leave. Obviously, you would have to definitely get your affairs in order here because they won't let you, like, you owe taxes, or you probably would have to work out your student loan issues. But as far as monetarily speaking, you would have to be in good standing and having to come over there with some bread, which wouldn't be too terribly much if at the rate the dollar is right now, not stress right now versus some of those other countries' dollar currency, and you could probably switch it over to, like, what's that, the EU dollar or whatever the hell. But anyway, that's why I was just, I'm thinking that maybe that's that's the omen. Like, that's what they're telling us. Like, I think that um, they're trying to say, hey, you better leave now because like I said, we people need to be honest about it. We will not win the next war. War will come to these shores. And it ain't gonna be like how we go into Kosovo and all these other different places in Syria. Nah, they bombing the shit out of us. Vast swaths of this continent, this country, will be uninhabitable. If you, like I say, even in Hopi prophecy, like I mean, in the Bible, like, and like I said, I'm not a religious person, but you can't deny the correlations or the similarities in some of the stories with regards to other, you know, um, other cultures and what they believe. So it's like, okay, well, we already, something's going to happen in this country that a lot of us is going to die. I'd say a third of us. And then the rest is just going to die off because it's going to be large swaths of the country that is going to be uninhabitable. This country is fin to burn. It is a must. I don't care. Like I said, and I know every American's gonna look at it emotionally, and every black person's gonna be like, nah, you just, if you have to put yourself, if you could stomach it to whatever degree you can, in their mind, which is sinister. So there's no feeling, there's no patronage, there's no pride in land or home. You know what I mean? There's no, oh, I'm an American. Hell no. There's people that grew up on this soil, that was raised on this soil, that great grandparents were on this soil, and they're selling us out, bankrupting this country. They're going to crash the dollar. The dollar is going to be worthless before it's all said and done. After it's all said and done, the dollar's going to be worthless. It's, you to be able to use it for just to light fires when the heat goes out. It's going to be worthless. We needs to go out. And so maybe that's, white folks' way of, I don't know, not rectifying, or I don't know, just maybe they for bringing us over here. Most of us, I know there was a lot of us that were already here, but just saying maybe that's their way of, like, saying, hey, we won't give you reparations, and we treated you motherfuckers like shit, but if you take heed to this, then at least you won't die. Now, I'm not saying that these countries are going to be any better because they're about to recolonize Africa, the Chinese, because they know. See, these people think decades and is, generations ahead of time. They know what the fuck is going on. So they're strategically chopping up Africa again. But the thing about it is, at least you won't be dead. And I do believe that in some way, it's I mean, obviously the new world order is is going to be terrifying. I mean, it's It's going to be unlike nothing we've ever experienced. It's, when you are mentally enslaved, it's going to be horrible. Okay? I mean, we're kind of mentally enslaved now, but the shit that's coming, man, the shit that you have seen in movies, that shit is real. Um, and China's starting with that type of stuff, like social credit, and they're talking about chipping people, even putting interfacing people with the AI, which will be the coming God. I think these people are these madmen families are, this AI is the new God, and there are actually some articles that say that. So, I mean, that even gets into all types of biblical shit. Like, they talking about a devil. What if the devil is the AI instead of like some demon with horns, or a person, or some type of beast from the underworld? Because if y'all get into a lot of this tech stuff and how they're this AI shit that they're talking about, I mean, they even write articles saying that AI is God, and they're talking about like certain uh, Asian people. I want to say Chinese monks or something like that. That worship that they fellowship with it. Like there's ones the robots now that they have now that they like they're preachers, or something like that, and they're having TED talks about the mind. Is your mind really yours? Is your privacy in your mind really private? I mean, these motherfucking elite, crazy people, these ultra rich tech people, these secret families that we know nothing about. I'm talking about ultra rich. I'm talking about bump 100, a couple, 1 or 2 billion. I'm talking about like 100 billion. 50 billion plus people. Billionaires, 50 plus million, 50 plus billion millionaires. Okay, the Facebook people, Facebook executives. They got them sitting around talking about how they're, all this new technology as far as these, they're getting us to get behind about, they're going to be creating hearts and these, all these different things, and and they're going to further technology to where humans can live to like on average 120, 130 years, and shit like the member the Fifth Element generation regenerating the a person from like a bone. If you get deep and heavy off into that stuff, and just looking in into the a lot of those papers and those articles in those magazines, they got some heavy crazy shit coming. And then they're talking about these elitists are talking about how there's going to be for the rich. They're not the rich, the ultra wealthy, these billionaires club. So if you're not, bump you little few millions, you're 5 million, 10, 50, even 100 million, you're now at the bottom. Only people that are going to be able to really be a part of this club is these ultra rich people. And I saw this, people, the human beings are about to split. If you've seen the movie Gattaca, there were hybrid humans and humans that were born regular without no augmentation whatsoever. And that's what the fuck we're coming into. But I know I went into a tangent about tech. But I'm just saying, what if that's what it means when they be saying stuff like that? We, the fact that there's an initiative, and all these African countries are reaching out to black people, and and saying, hey, come back home. Da, da, da. Maybe it's just a way to say whoever can get out better get out now. Even the movie Get Out. They tell you shit in code. I don't know. Maybe it's and what's his He just another movie he just made. What's his name? Peel dude or whatever. I don't know. All I know is we'll know when the shit really hits the fan. If you can pay it there, if you have access or you know how to, the ability to watch the immigrants and who starts to leave, like when their numbers start to pick up as far as exiting, the Jews, the Arabs, especially them two, at least them two. When you start to seeing them leaving, and I think also too, a lot of the businesses are closing down. I even seen that Dollar Store is closing down. 350 store. Dollar Store, the Dollar Tree, not Family, the Dollar Tree. Everybody goes to the fucking Dollar Tree. Like, how are you not doing well? Like, that's the place you go to when you ain't got no money. So, if you think about it, a lot of these Jews and stuff like that, they own a lot of these corporations, man. I'm telling you, when the Jews start leaving, and them Arabs, because them Arabs, not the jihadists, they telling you the terrorists, which is a lie. But talking about the Saudi Arabia people, the ones the Arabs that they in cahoots with while they perpetrate, like, they're the enemy, but they're in cahoots with, like, Saudi Arabia, and the New World Order, and surveyed cities and shit. They got Neom over there, and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah. So I think that's my that's my 2 cents. I think that maybe that's what it's meant to be. Maybe that's what maybe that's what they're telling us. Because trust me, this motherfucker finna burn. And regretfully, as far as how they want technology to progress and where they want to be at per their goals that they're set to roll out certain type of technology with regards to people, and like chipping, and the system getting people off the dollar, off of paper money and into a chip or a card. And regrettably, I think it, unfortunately, this is going to definitely happen in my lifetime. And it makes you. Sometimes I wish I knew all this shit like 22 years ago. I would have never had kids, because I don't want my children to have to experience that type of stress and destruction and mayhem, and fear, and you just don't know which way is what up. Just terror. You know, can you imagine if you're not a city that's directly bombed, and you just, people paratrooping out the sky that don't look, I mean, what I mean, like guns and people shooting, and, water's scarce, and, bombs going up, buildings are blowing up, and there's fires everywhere. You don't know where you're going to get your next meal at. Meanwhile, people are killing people and raping people. It's about us Americans out here taking people's food, robbing people, and then so you got to watch out for your own people, Americans, and then on top of that, there's the enemy, quote unquote, is that's it's soldiers that are trying to take over, and they're out in the streets. You gotta try to avoid them, and try to avoid bombs, and grenades, and I'm telling you the shit that goes on in them other countries that we it's karma, man. It's karma. All that shit we was doing and been doing for the last 50 years or so in other people's countries, that they don't televised, that shit's coming here. And then on the other end, it's gonna be, how our Media would spin it like, oh yeah, these insurgents, okay, and these people, they're, our soldiers have to watch out for these insurgents or these, people, this group of sect of people, and then they have the kids, they have bombs on them and stuff like that. We're gonna be on the opposite side of that because we're going to be doing that, and you're going to have Russia and China talking to their people like the insurgents, okay? The insurgents. When we're going to be the insurgents, we're going to get our upcomings. But that's it. That's all I wanted. I don't know, y'all. But don't get comfortable. Don't make any major purchases. If you're buying, if you're gonna spend some money, invest in some stuff. You know, new tech, not new tech that they're trying to come out with. Like businesses, something like yeah, like something that you could make some money off of. Don't buy a new home because if you don't already have one, because you're 30 years, you're not, if you don't lose it, you're gonna lose it one way or the other. Let's put it like this: before the 30 years is up, you're gonna lose it, whether it be because you can't find a job, and it'll be another crash like 2008, but much worse, or a war. So don't buy a home and invest. And for black people, I say hell yeah, get the hell up out of here if you can. I know a lot of y'all ain't gonna understand that. You talk to a lot of black people, they're like, I'm American, I'm an American. I'm like, nigga, really? Like, it's okay to travel. Black folks don't even want to travel out of their little city that they grew up in. But it's okay to travel. It's okay to live in other, you know, this country ain't had no loyalty to you. Hell, I mean, you could live. I'm not saying to go to Africa, but I would say that's probably your best bet because France is going to be in the fray when this global war hit. France, Germany, Russia, China, England, places that a lot of us will go to for your first month. That shit, they're gonna be enthralled in the wars in some type of way, shape, or form. Can't go to Puerto Rico, can't go to Hawaii. I mean, if you want to try to hide out in Alaska, and it's your best bet. And like I said, it's gonna get recolonized, but at least you'll be alive, or at least get your kids over there. At least get your kids out of here. At least do what you need to do, and get something together. Try to see if you can start up a business. Like look into stuff like that. Like what? Pick a state, or not a state, but country, and just really research that country and see what they need. See if you can get a business, because it's easier to get a start a business in a lot of these other countries, and they be needing certain things that you know infrastructure things and just certain commodities and stuff like that. So you never know what you can group into a business partnership with for financing, or you never know. You could take a $200,000 and go and open up some type of warehouse facility that mass produce something. A manufacturing company somewhere in one of them countries that mass produces something. I'm saying, figure out what these Chinese are doing when they're doing going over there, what they create. Follow up behind them, because guess what? Like I said, our money right now is worth something. So you could take $200,000 that you would to buy a home and go buy, get into some type of business partnership with someone over there in like Ghana or something like that, or Nigeria. Was it Nigeria? One of them, Kenya or South Africa or something like that, and and come up. Or I was talking to this one Uber driver. I think I forgot where he was from, but he was saying like if you are into tech, like making some type of technology or of some sort, he said that it's best to go over there with it anyway because you become a millionaire versus here where, you get patented to death or they try to take your shit, your ideas, and you don't get much as much off of it. But if you or someone else somewhere else in like one of those countries and you build it up, you can become a millionaire. So I'm just saying, y'all got to think outside the box. You know, sometimes you got to go. Hell, that's what they did. That's why they fucking here. The potato famines and the Black Plague, and some of them just came over here because they were saying like, hey, go this this new world, and we'll give you provisions and da da da, and so they left. So the world is ours. White folks is the ones that kind of got this whole idea because we as Africans we traveled all over the globe, even in Asia. Asians did the same thing. We had the Silk Roads and things like, come on now. Like, so don't get into a modern day feeling like, oh well, I can't leave this country. People do it all the time. I'm telling you, get in, get out, and watch. You will know the shit hits the fan. When if you are able to figure out how to do it, but once these Jews start massively leaving and shutting down businesses or doing something like switch up, like the one business that was the building that fell that shouldn't have fell, but it was owned by some somebody Jewish, and how they say all the Jews, a lot of the Jews that worked in the Twin Towers didn't go to work that day, like shit like that. But see, if they about to collapse the dollar, the shit's about to get real. A lot of them would leave. It wouldn't be something obviously that the news would even talk about. You would have to look at some type of stats and different little things that you would have to compile because the news isn't going to tell you because the news is owned by the Jews. So they're not going to tell you that they're leaving because that's what the Jews have been doing anyway. It's been robbing this country blind.